What happens next in a full U.S. invasion of Venezuela? Day 0. U.S. Cyber Command, operating from a bunker in Fort Meade, Maryland, has unleashed a payload of malware years in the making. It's a variant of the Stuxnet worm, specifically tailored for the legacy SCADA systems running Venezuela's power grid and military communications. The code burrows into the network, hunting for vulnerabilities like a digital virus. The lights go out. It's a cascading failure. First the command center, then the streetlights of downtown Caracas, then the residential districts. A city of 3 million people plunges into a terrifying, suffocating darkness. Ventilators in hospitals stop. Elevators freeze between floors. The hum of the city dies, replaced by a confused rising murmur of panic. 2 minutes later, the sky tears open. High above, at 50,000 feet, 2 B-2 Spirit stealth bombers cruise silently through the thin air. They launched from Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri 12 hours ago, refueling mid-air over the Atlantic in a delicate dance of fuel probes and jet wash. These are $2.1 billion aircraft, flying wings that appear as nothing more than birds on radar screens. Their bomb bays open with a hydraulic hiss. Between them, they drop 4 GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrators. These are not normal bombs. They're 30,000-pound monsters, precision-guided bunker busters designed to survive the impact with the Earth and punch through 200 feet of reinforced concrete before detonating. Their target is the subterranean network beneath the Miraflores Palace and the command bunkers at Fortuna. The impact is seismic. The ground does not just shake, it liquefies. The explosion happens deep underground, a muffled thud that travels through the bedrock, collapsing tunnels and crushing the hardened shelters where the regime's leadership sleeps. The shockwave ripples to the surface, shattering windows 3 miles away and setting off car alarms across the darkened capital. Simultaneously, the USS Ross and USS Porter, Arleigh Burke-class destroyers, positioned 200 miles offshore, unleash their magazines. The vertical launch systems erupt in pillars of fire and white smoke. A volley of 60 Tomahawk land attack missiles streak into the night sky. At $2 million a shot, this is a $120 million opening salvo, a mathematical equation of destruction. The missiles drop low, skimming the waves, then hugging the terrain of the coast, moving at 550 miles an hour. They're autonomous, programmed with the exact coordinates of their prey. They find their marks with terrifying precision. Radar installations along the coast, communication nodes in the mountains, the headquarters of the SEBIN intelligence service. Venezuela's S-300 VM air defense batteries, purchased from Russia a decade ago, spin their massive radars frantically. They are formidable systems, theoretically capable of engaging targets 250 kilometers away, but they are blind. The cyber attack has severed their data links to Central Command. The screens are full of snow. The few commanders who manage to bypass the digital lockout fire missiles into the empty air, chasing electronic ghosts created by U.S. Growler electronic warfare jets orbiting just outside of their range. By 4:30 a.m., the Venezuelan military's nervous system is dead. The head has been cut off, and the body is paralyzed. 2 hours later, the sun rises over a broken country. Thick columns of black smoke climb miles into the humid morning air, marking the graves of radar stations and command bunkers. From the deck of the USS Gerald R. Ford, the world's largest and most expensive warship, the air war begins in earnest. The carrier, a $13 billion floating city displacing 100,000 tons, turns its bow into the wind. The electromagnetic catapult.
When my hair started thinning, I wanted to attack the
snap. 4 squadrons of FA-18E Super Hornets and F-35C Lightning IIs launch in rapid succession, one every 30 seconds. The afterburners glow orange against the dawn. The F-35s are the quarterbacks of this game. Their stealth coating makes them invisible to the few remaining Venezuelan radars, while their sensors soak up the data, heat signatures, radio emissions, electronic noise, and then share it instantly with the entire fleet. Venezuela's Air Force scrambles. On paper, they have 24 Su-30 Mark II flankers. These are heavy twin-engine Russian fighters, maneuverable and dangerous, armed with long-range missiles. But the reality is harsher than the inventory lists. Due to years of crushing sanctions and a chronic lack of spare parts, only 8 are actually airworthy. The rest sit in hangars cannibalized for wiring and hydraulics. The pilots who climb into the cockpits are brave, but they are flying blind. Their ground control is silent. Their navigational beacons are down. The engagement is short. It happens beyond visual range. An F-35 pilot cruising 40 miles away locks onto a heat signature and presses a button. An AIM-120D AMRAAM missile drops from the internal bay, ignites its motor, and accelerates to Mach 4. The Venezuelan pilot in the Su-30 never sees it. He never gets a warning tone. His aircraft simply disintegrates in a fireball over the Caribbean Sea. In 45 minutes, the Venezuelan Air Force ceases to exist as a fighting force. The sky is empty. Now the airspace belongs to the drones. MQ-9 Reapers, loitering at 25,000 feet like vultures, begin the work of dismantling the army. They hunt tanks, they hunt troop trucks, they hunt anything that moves with military intent. A Hellfire missile costing $150,000 streaks down and obliterates a World War II-era transport truck carrying conscripts. The economics of war are cruel and lopsided. A $1 million missile destroys a $1,000 truck.
Save hundreds a year on your wireless bill.
But the message is psychological. Nowhere is safe. 6 hours later, the sea is closed. The U.S. Navy establishes a strict blockade zone 500 nautical miles from the Venezuelan coast. It's an iron ring. Nothing goes in, nothing comes out. The Venezuelan Navy, a collection of aging frigates and patrol boats, stays in port. They know the score. A single Virginia-class submarine lurking silently beneath the waves with its torpedo tubes flooded could sink the entire fleet in an afternoon without ever surfacing. The economic strangulation is immediate and total. Venezuela relies on oil for 99% of its export earnings. Tankers sit idle at the terminals in Puerto La Cruz, their crews playing cards, watching the smoke rise from the city. The pumps stop. The pipelines go silent. The U.S. Treasury Department issues a flash alert to the global financial system. Any entity trading with the Venezuelan regime is now subject to secondary sanctions. Global insurance markets for shipping panic immediately. The cost to insure a tanker in the Caribbean jumps 4,000% in an hour. No captain will sail. No insurer will underwrite. Oil prices globally react instantly to the shock. Brent crude spikes to $110 a barrel. In Tokyo, London, and New York, the markets wobble. Airlines ground flights as fuel costs soar. Logistics companies pause shipments. The interconnectedness of the world economy shudders at the disruption of supply. The war is local, but the pain is global. 12 hours later, the physical war is loud, filled with the roar of engines and the crack of explosives. The digital war is silent, but just as destructive. Venezuelan state TV is hijacked. The signal is overridden. Instead of martial music and speeches, screens across the country broadcast a pre-recorded message from the U.S. State Department. A voice in perfect localized Spanish urges the Venezuelan military to lay down their arms. Your fight is not with us, the voice says, calm and reasonable. It is with the kleptocracy that stole your future. Go home to your families. Simultaneously, U.S. Cyber Command targets the financial assets of the regime's inner circle. Bank accounts in Panama, Switzerland, and the Cayman Islands are accessed and frozen. Billions of dollars, the retirement plans of generals and ministers, vanish in a keystroke. The loyalty of the Venezuelan officer corps begins to fracture. A general without a payroll is just a man in a costume. The encrypted WhatsApp groups used by the mid-level officers light up with rumors. Who is defecting? Who is paying? Is there amnesty? The cohesion of the army dissolves before the first American boot touches the ground. Day 2, 6 a.m. The horizon off.
Save hundreds a year on your wireless bill when you switch to the most reliable 5G network from Comcast Business Mobile.
For a limited time, switch to Comcast Business Mobile and get a $500 prepaid card when you add 2 lines of mobile. Switch today.
Puerto Cabello fills with dark shapes. The USS Wasp and USS New York amphibious assault ships lower their massive stern gates. The water churns white. LCAC's landing craft air cushion roar out of the well decks. They hit the beaches at 6 a.m. sharp. The sand flies. The ramps drop. Resistance is sporadic and uncoordinated. A few mortar rounds land in the surf, throwing up geysers of water. A sniper fires from a palm grove. The crack of the rifle lost in the roar of the engines. But the Marines of the 2nd Expeditionary Force push inland with overwhelming violence of action. Overhead, AH-1Z Viper attack helicopters strafe the tree line. Their 20mm cannons sound like canvas ripping, sawing through the palm trees and cinder-block walls. The Venezuelan army, the Ejército Bolivariano, has 130,000 troops on the books, but thousands have deserted in the last 24 hours. They are hungry, their boots are worn through, and they have no desire to die for a government that pays them on average $6 a month. They strip off their uniforms and melt into the civilian population. However, the colectivos are different. These are the paramilitary motorcycle